Kenya, and this was the eastern part of Congo where people speak Swahili, so I was able to actually speak Swahili to people that were, around, and they had a lot of, just similar things from home, from Kenya, that I recognized, and I didn't quite realize how that part of the Congo was connected from a sort of cultural point of view to the sort of East African side of Africa. I thought it would be more French-speaking, but no. So that was quite interesting to see. And also, it's from I'd spent a lot of time reading about the conflict in the Kivus. To actually be able to go there and see it firsthand, I thought was pretty fascinating.
Where do you feel that the most need is for these physicians around the globe right now in today's time?
Oh, that's a very difficult one. My brother's working in Central African Republic right now. He would probably argue that that would be where they should go. But MSF are actually in Central African Republic. It's the whole sort of global triage challenge in a way that is faced with the people that operate out of headquarters is just mind-numbingly impossible. I mean, I don't know how they do that job, because they're essentially looking at 80 countries and trying to choose what's more urgent than something else, and it's really it's something that traumatizes them, I know, because they know that every decision they make, they're leaving thousands of patients behind in another place.
Do any countries actually say, no, we don't want to work with Doctors Without Borders, we're just going to fend for ourselves and deal with what we have because we don't want any foreigners here?
I think they've had some issues in Nepal, actually, with the Maoists, but in general, no. They tend to be pretty much recognized, and one of obviously the big things is the sort of impartiality of the doctor, and the sort of the neutrality that they've sort of made a very important part of the type of work that they do, to treat both sides of the conflict type of thing, which means that they get tremendous access to the worst conflicts. And the other thing is that they're doctors, so even soldiers understand the value that a doctor holds, and the sort of people stop firing as the doctors run through type of thing. So they really tend to be able to get into everywhere.
Were you yourself put in any danger filming this film?
In hindsight, probably there were some situations that were much more dangerous than I realized at the time. I mean, people would come up with machine guns and tell you to get out of cars and that sort of thing. But I was with Doctors Without Borders, and they take a lot of security precautions, and you sort of came under their shield, as it were. Having said that, they were always on the fringe of evacuating from the place we were in the Congo, so it was a very unsettled situation. But because, as I was saying earlier, it's such an intense environment, you're sort of caught up with what's going on. You're not really palpably aware of what danger you're in.
Did you do this film as a little bit of a call to other physicians to participate in Doctors Without Borders? Because I did note that they wound up having the same problem. It seems like that they have in every hospital, that they're short-staffed, that they're working long hours. Was this an underlying call out to others out there to say, hey, it's something good to do? You're going to experience the entire spectrum of emotions while you're there?
I mean, that's not a bad thing if people want to work for Doctors Without Borders. I think a lot of physicians at a couple of festival screenings that we've had have responded very strongly to the fact that there are several different scenes and themes in the film that they relate to, but are also in a more extreme setting. So they appreciate, I suppose, the extreme nature of them. The film hopefully stands alone as a film and a sort of visceral experience in itself. If physicians watch it and feel that that's a challenge that they feel that they would like to take on, I think that's a great thing.
Do you have your next project lined up, and if so, will it focus on a nonprofit as well?
I'm not sure if it'll focus on a nonprofit. I've got several different ideas, quite a lot of them involving stories in Africa. Haven't really decided yet what I'm going to be doing.
Not on Haiti?
No. I'm looking at actually a story in Somalia, but is one of the ones I'm thinking about.
If you just popped into chataboutit.com, this is again Mark Hopkins. He is the director of Living in Emergency. It opens June 4th. Let's talk again about your topic matter here. You know, the world's population, Mark, is expected to increase 40 to 50% over the next 50 years. Do you find that this is going to actually open up the door to an even worse crisis for healthcare and for food?
I don't see it getting better. I mean, part of the point we make in the film is that, you know, the work of organizations like Doctors Without Borders really is a sort of, you know, drop in the ocean. There's a huge, you know, billions of people being left behind, and we're not winning the war on sort of global health. You know, it's obviously there's a lot of great work that's being done, but the volume is just massive. It is really overwhelming, and with populations, you know, exploding, I don't see that situation changing unless there's obviously a dramatic shift in the way people look at global health policy.
And speaking of global health policy, what could the UN be doing better to address a lot of this issue of the healthcare need and of the food crisis that is out there? Did you find that just through your experiences with this film that you were saying, gosh, you know, if the UN would just implement policy, maybe this or that problem would be better?
I mean, it's, I think, sadly, a lot more involved in just being able the UN to be able to do something. I mean, you can go back to Bamako in '97 and look at the sort of what the World Bank and the IMF recommended then, which is really a radical shift in terms of, you know, African healthcare, which required a sort of a fee for service, which in poor countries it meant that poor people didn't get treated, and that, you know, millions of people died because of what was really sounded like a good idea at the time, but, you know, when you actually boil it down and implement it in a very sort of resource-strapped environment, it was an awful idea, and those ideas are happening all the time, sadly. So I don't see there's one like magic, whatever, you know, silver bullet here, but you know, obviously there are a lot of people, you know, aware of this and a lot of people trying to work on it, but it is such a huge, massive problem that it's going to take several different very brilliant ideas, I think, to really start making a dent.
What would you like to see happen in play, whether it's just even in the United States, a policy, or among the UN, the IMF, or any type of global organization? Maybe it's so much as, you know, volunteer service becomes mandatory service, and volunteering could actually curb some of this. What are your thoughts on any policy that you'd like to see in play to actually curtail this?
I'd have to be careful because I'm not a doctor, but having spent a lot of time with doctors and doctors working in third world environments, I can tell you the one thing that they really object to is this whole idea of fee-for-service in third world countries. The idea that sort of the poorest of the world are required to pay for healthcare. Now, I know there's a whole issue and debate of paying for healthcare in the States and in wealthy countries. That's, I think, a whole different debate. If you're putting that model into an environment where there are people with literally no money, having fee-for-service, I can see very clearly how that means that people simply just do not ever go to doctors. So having said that, I do believe that there are efforts to rescind that particular policy, which I think would be a good step.
But then, of course, if we have no money being filtered into the system, we're going to ultimately deplete the quality of our physicians, right?
Right, but I mean, what I'm talking about is, is in situations where that type of strategy is not actually contributing, and it's not actually treating patients.
I see.
So if you're supporting your healthcare system in a resource-deprived environment, and let's take Malawi, for example, they make it a priority to put what small amount of money they have into their healthcare service.
Got it.
Which is good.
That is good. All right, Mark, we do have to wrap it up. Thank you so much again. Mark Hopkins is the director of Living in Emergency. It opens on June 4th. Best of luck with your documentary, and congratulations on a great job.
That's great. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining the Political Chick. Next week, we're off for Memorial Day. Have a terrific week, couple of weeks. We'll see you back in June. Have a great one.